Hey folks, how you doing? We're simulcasting on three different YouTube channels today: Rock History Music, Rock History Book, and Rock History Canada. And before we get to our subject, which is Ronnie King, who passed away at the age of 76, it was March 4th. We'll just let you know that because there was always a little bit of confusion concerning our channels. The Rock History Canada channel is, of course, for Canadian artists that may not be well known outside of Canada. It should come on in about a second. It's usually it's got a little pause
rejigging.
on.
Got it.
Yeah, it's rejigging. And so Rock History Canada is for that reason. Like I said, before we get to what we're going to talk about today, because we've got an interview with Ronnie King. Just a few months ago, I did an interview with him, and he was just really excited about some of the things that were coming up. That they were planning a tour, the last a farewell tour. And there's a statement that Shannon's going to read that their spokesman and or family gave out concerning Ronnie King.
It is with sadness and love that we must announce the passing of our longtime friend and bandmate, Cornelius Van Sprang, known to most as Ronnie King. The message read, Ronnie died yesterday, he actually did pass away on March 4th. Died at the Peter Lougheed Hospital in Calgary. The sudden drastic turn in his health took us all by surprise. As little as 3 weeks ago, he was looking forward to doing one final tour with the Stampeders and was in a positive and optimistic state of mind. Sadly, it was not to be.
Interesting thing about Ronnie King, and you'll hear this from the clips. I think I saw the Stampeders, I'm guessing 3 or 4 times. The second concert I ever saw at St. Clair Rink in Newcastle, New Brunswick, which is now Miramichi, would have been, I think, in 73, 74, I'm guessing. And Abraham's Children was the first concert I ever saw, and then it was Stampeders. And Stampeders were like this big band. There was, and I don't mean that in size, because it was only 3 guys. Rich Dotson, Kim Burley, and Ronnie King. And they started in, I think it was 64 in Calgary here. I mean, the Peter Lougheed Hospital where he passed away is just like, 30 minutes away from here.
If that.
And when I talked to Ronnie, I would have done it in person because he's from here, but we were living in Moncton, New Brunswick at the time, so we didn't, that was a long way. So it was sad, the fact, whenever you hear something like he was looking forward to going out and doing that final tour. And he had mentioned during the conversation with me that Rich Dotson, who left Stampeders in not the mid-70s, but near, I think, 76, 77, don't quote me, he went off and became a producer and a solo artist, had a few solo hits across the country. Stampeders, I should point out, because we are being simulcast on our mostly American-viewed channels, Rock History Music and Rock History Book, is that the Stampeders had two hits in the U.S. Sweet City Woman, which was a number 8 hit in the U.S., and Hit the Road Jack, which is made famous by Ray Charles and a whole bunch of other people. But 19 hits. 19 hits in Canada. 19 top 40 hits, and we're going to talk about some of those. But let me just get to some of the history. Getting back to what I was going to say a while ago, when you listen to Ronnie King talk, I mean, the guy's really happy. He's just always smiling and always joking, and he played that role in the band. All 3 guys, and I interviewed Kim Burley too, Kimball, their drummer, but to have a trio like that, a power trio that when every single one of them could harmonize with each other, every one of them could sing lead vocals. But let me just get to, we're just learning some of the software here, but we're getting to it. And there he is. Thank you, Shannon, for putting this together.
You're welcome.
Their first big hit, like I said, was Sweet City Woman, which was a number 8 hit in the U.S. and number 1 in Canada. It ended up being their biggest hit that they ever had. And you see the guys, they're such dudes, and they were always fun. There's Ronnie. Look at the look on his face. He's always playing the role of the jokesters. There's Rich Dotson beside him, Kim Burley in the middle there. But Canadian icons like that, so many people love the Stampeders, and it's nice to know that our American neighbors knew the band really well. And I mean, they were like a two-hit wonder in the U.S., like I mentioned before. Let me get my camera back. "Sweet City Woman" and "Hit the Road Jack." But let's get to oh, well, you got some comments that we should.
We've got a super chat, the cut of the jib. Thank you so much for your donation.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Kim Trickle, hi, Shannon and John.
Hi, Kim.
The cut of the jib, 1964 to 1977, and then they regrouped in 1992.
Yeah.
Diane Smith, R.I.P. King, sad, and today remembering Randy Meisner's birthday.
Oh, is that right? You know what? We're getting back to doing the Canadian and the American today in history. We're going to do some on the Canadian channel because we're Canadian, but as most of you know, the majority of our audience is in the U.S. Like it goes from 90, sometimes up to 95% of the folks because we cover a lot of U.S. bands. So let's listen to the man himself. This is where should I start? Okay, this is in the beginning of the Stampeders' career where things were starting to take off. And they were meeting a lot of big artists. Like I didn't know this story till I talked to their drummer Kim Burley. And then I asked for Ronnie to reiterate a little bit of it. We're not going to have Kim on this segment, but pretty sure. I mean, I might try to get Rich Dotson so we'd have all three of them, but it's not a time to reach out to Rich Dotson right now. So this is Ronnie King, who we lost. How old was he? 76?
76.
76. Mm-hmm. Talking about an interesting rock and roll incident. Early 70s. I talked to Kim about this, or Kimball, and okay, I've got here written down. Whiskey A Go-Go, L.A., Hollywood. You met Who drummer Keith Moon. Invited you back to a party in Beverly Hills, Wilshire Hotel. Rod Stewart, Ringo Starr, and there was an incident, I guess, at the hotel, and everyone ended up wearing Stampeders shirts. Like, what makes sense of that to me?
We were in LA to do a promotional tour before we played the Whiskey, and we went to the Capitol Records building our manager had set up, right, and the entire building. And the Capitol Records building, it looks like a bunch of LPs all, stacked on top of each other. The entire place, from the janitor to the secretaries to the CEOs, they were all wearing Stampeders Tour 1974 on it. And we were blown away. You're kidding, yeah. And then we, long story short, we went to have dinner with several of the P&R guys, and a couple of the ladies that were also present. So we went to this dinner, and there was this very gay man who was just, and I'm sure it was set up by the Capitol Records people because they were chuckling kind of under their breath, and the gay man was going, "Oh, who's that? My tip," pointing to me and stuff like that. Anyway, then we decided that the girls said, let's go to a club. I don't know, a nice place to go for a drink, and a hot club called the Roxy. And I said, yeah, I'll go. And the other two guys didn't go. They never went. I always went. And we went to the Roxy. So we walk in and we're going to get drinks, and the girls say, "Oh, we're going to go upstairs and see what's happening." And so on else, and we'll be right back. You order our drinks. I said, yeah, great. So they come running back, said, oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. It's Mooney's birthday tomorrow, and Mooney and so on else. So you got to do it because it's, I told them, who can do your birthday? Is there any guys with equipment in town? Yeah, the Stampeders are in town, and so on. So, oh, well, let me meet him. Oh, come on upstairs. So I go upstairs and meet Mooney, because I'm going, what's a Mooney? Keith Moon of the Who, and oh God, and he's kind of blinky. And so we end up doing this party at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, the second floor banquet room, and whatever it was. And I mean, every major star was there that was, from Redbone to Mickey Dolenz to Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood, And it just went on and on, right? So we did a couple of songs and what have you. And so we said, well, we may as well let whoever wants to jam. We'll just move aside, and we did. And so Keith Moon was quite impressed with Kim's drums because they were plexiglass see-through drums, and we were we were amazed to see on Midnight Special sometime later that Keith Moon had a see-through drum, and he had his floor tom was full of water with goldfish swimming around in it. And we're going, hey, you got that from us.
That's the thing about Ronnie King, and watching him, he's always smiling. He was always smiling. And again, he played that role on camera, on TV. He just was a funny guy. I mean, you'd want to party with this dude for sure. We're going to get to some of the stories of the songs. And at the end, I also asked Ronnie King, what was the best and worst part of being in the band, the Stampeders? And I haven't watched this since I edited it, so I'm just putting this on. I don't know if you have any comments you want to share.
Ben Patterson. Hey, Ben, I knew next to nothing about the Stampeders, but their top 40 hit, Sweet City Woman, has always given me a bittersweet, melancholy feeling from my childhood. I was only 8, but it grabbed me.
You know, the thing is, he's playing like a banjo. Rich Dotson's playing the banjo in the beginning of that. You know, and anyone who might not, and we can't put it on because of copyright, but anyone who thinks they might not know the song, chances are, even if it wasn't in your sort of lane, you've heard the song through osmosis, because it was like a number 8 hit in the U.S. and then Hit the Road Jack in the mid-'70s was a hit, that Ray Charles song. Ray Charles made it popular, among others. And Wolfman Jack was on their version of that. And if you play that, if you go on Spotify and play that, and again, we can't do it because of copyright. Let me know if you've got some comments. And
I do. Calvin Beeler. Hello, Mr. John and Miss Shan. I have the original 45 of Sweet City Woman from Bell Records. R.I.P. Mr. King. Keep up the great work, as always, and God bless, from Cleveland, Ohio.
We're going to talk about some of their hits. 19 Canadian hits, which easily makes the Stampeders, even with half of that, they would have become Canadian icons. I haven't seen them. I think I saw them, like I said, either 3 or 4 times. Once in Edmonton, and I think the three times. Yeah, it was 4 times. Ask me tomorrow, I'll see. On my memory, I don't know if your memory's like that with concerts. Sometimes I'll forget, but I have a journal that I can go back and reference. 19 Canadian hits. Sweet City Woman, as mentioned, was their biggest hit, number 1 in Canada, and number 8 in the U.S., which says an awful lot. They followed that up with Devil You in 1971. They had 2 hits the following year in 72. Monday Morning Choo Choo, remember that? Monday Morning Choo Choo. I can't sing. And Wild Eyes. And we've got a clip from Ronnie King to talk about, oh, there's our dogs. Talk about Wild Eyes. Let me get to, there we go. With Wild Eyes, with Rich bringing that in, was that an attempt to just harden the sound? Because you guys had a few good rockers.
Yeah, it was indeed. Rich has always liked his own rockers more so than Sweet City Woman, despite the fact that it was our biggest hit, right? And it put Rich on the map, so to speak, on the songwriter's map. And let's just get on with the rockers. Devil You, Wild Eyes, Hit the Road even cover. So, by the way, I was very proud to have sung Hit the Road Jack, the lead singer, and it was number 1 in Holland, where I was born. And they were, of course, making a big deal. Yeah, Dutchman is in a Canadian supergroup. Yeah, and this and that. So we went over there, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to do all the interviews because I can speak Dutch still, right?" Everybody speaks English.
With that song, and it's strange, I didn't get it at the time, where Wolfman Jack is calling you Cornelius. I mean, it's almost like an inside joke because we didn't have the internet back then, right? We wouldn't know these things unless you've got a connection with the band. Did you guys publicize that? Was that out there? That it was your name, your real name?
Well, no, we didn't. We didn't. I just told Wolfman that we were playing in Saratoga Springs, New York, the first annual American Song Festival. Again, huge amount of famous people on there, from the Letterman, the Eagles, Ray Charles, Jose Feliciano, and it was just on and on, And I eventually told Wolfman, I said, "There's so many famous people on this thing. I'm one of the only bands I never heard of." But so we're doing this, and I phone up my babe in Toronto. I said, "Yeah, come on down here. We're here for a whole week." And so I go to meet her at the airport. Meanwhile, I've got some of the ganja. I'm always the ganja smoker, and so I had some quite powerful stuff that I bought in Portland, Oregon, where it was already a misdemeanor. And so I go to the airport, and I got a couple of dupes on me and whatever, and I go to pick up my babe and whatever, and I see Wolfman Jack coming out of one of the gates, and I'm always outgoing. "Hey, how do you do?" But his manager intercepts him, and he said, "How can I help you?" He said, "Yeah, I'm Ronnie King of the Stampeders. Look, the poster, we're on the same show, and it's nice I'd like to meet Wolfman. It'd be great, And oh, sure. And Wolfman's kind of standing back 10 feet, rubbing his eyes. He's kind of been snoozing on the plane or whatever. And he says, "Yeah, look, Wolf, look at it. There's all your friends, Jose Feliciano, etc." And he says, "Oh yeah, who's this?" He says, "Well, this is Ronnie King of the Stampeders." And Wolfman says, "Oh, hi, Stan." Thinking my name was Stan Peters. I said, no, man. Look, if you want to get real, my Ronnie King's my stage name. I was born in Holland. Cornelius van Sprang is my given name. And Cornelius, I'm sorry, Cornelius, Stan, Ronnie, whatever the hell your name is, you wouldn't have any, would you? So he says this to me, and I said, "Well, you came to the right person. We're all here together for a week. Here, have a joint." And Wolf says, "Oh man, and we're what?" I said, "We're all together for a week there in the hotel, etc." "Oh man, I can see it now. 67 in cash box with a bullet." Yeah, and he's putting his arm around me, and we're all of a sudden we become close friends because I had some joints. And had been ever since. Oh, you're one of the rare people I love, man. I mean, you're one of the grand entertainers, and I've kept in touch with him years later, even after the Stampeders broke up. I did a house gig here in Calgary, and I said, "Yeah, we're wondering if you want to maybe come up and play this house gig with me." "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not, yeah, maybe, man. I've been doing a lot of these gigs," and he was a party animal. So, more so than me, even.
So that was the road for him getting onto that record.
Yeah. We'd somehow we were recording "Hit the Road Jack" in the studio, and I was singing it, and cover tune, and so we got to the end part, and I was trying to be Ray Charles. I was scatting, "Yeah, my baby left me. You can't mean it, honey," and so on. And I'm trying to, I'm saying, "Look, I'm not black. I'm not." So, so I start joking around and saying, "Hey, Cornelius." "Hey, that's funny. Let's leave that in, Let's phone down to LA and get permission from Wolfman." So they do, and they say, "Oh, of course, they get down here and do the real thing. Are you crazy?" So, okay, so I fly down with the manager, and we just set it all up in the studio. I flew down, by the way, with that. That was with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The whole team was on that flight. But so we go down and record "Hit the Road Jack," and Wolfman's doing his thing and so on else, and I'm we're doing it off the cuff, just. And I said, I got an idea. Wolfman's isolated in a separate isolation booth, and I'm isolated, and the managers and people are all behind the glass and whatnot. And I said, I got an idea, Wolf. We're just wandering here, but why don't you insinuate as if you're wanting to horn in on my babe and so on else, and say, well, why don't you give me your babe's number and so on else, and I'll see what I can do. I said, so let's set it up that way. So we do it again, and he never does it, So they stop, and I'm saying, well, hey, Wolf, you're not even. I was suggesting that maybe you would do that. Meanwhile, the management and all the people are going, people, time is money, time is money. So Wolfman says, hey, Cornelius, up yours. Just to show you how we got along.
The guy's filled. He was just filled with joy when he talked about anything during this interview. Like, you could tell, I was just, I usually have, like, I'm famous for the resting bitch face when I'm talking, when I'm to people, and I'm just really listening to them, and that's because people have asked me before. It's like, you're so serious when you're doing your interviews. I'm going, but I'm really power listening, and I'm always thinking of the next question and this stuff. But from Ronnie King, joy is the major feeling, and having fun with life. And Shannon's got some comments from you.
Fraser J covers. Hi, Fraser.
Hi,
hey,
Fraser.
Guys. Really unusual seeing you on a Friday Night Live. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, yeah, it is Friday night.
It is Friday.
We used to do this all the time on Friday.
And usually at around, our time closer to the end of the day.
Yeah.
We've got Kim says, hey, love your Toto pictures from last night. Thanks, Kim.
Toto was in Calgary last night, and Shannon Forrest got us some tickets, and we went backstage and had a chance to meet up with the band.
Music Man, one of my first music concerts was the Stampeders when I was only 14. Great memories from their music. R.I.P. Ronnie.
Music Man, where are you from? I'm just kind of curious where you live, and we'll make a note of that of when he comes up. If there's Canadians on here, and so we have a lot of Americans who knew "Sweet City Woman," which was like just their signature song, really. Even though the Stampeders had so many different hits, and we're going to talk about that right now. We're going through the hits, and when Ronnie talks about one of the hits, and these are long clips. Chase, actually, our son, edited this video, so I had no idea what he did with it. Because usually when you're talking about stuff, usually because of monetization, you have to beep that stuff out. So I listened to that, and I'm going, oh, okay, we're at 1973. They had two hits in 73. Oh My Lady, which was sung by Kimberly, their drummer, and Minstrel Wind. The Stampeders had three hits in 74. Running Wild, Me and My Stone, which we're going to talk about with Ronnie King right now. What clip is that? We're getting used to our software, but...
Music Man is in beautiful Cape Breton Island.
Cape Breton. We were so close to that. We moved to New Brunswick for a year. But here's Ronnie King talking about Me and My Stone, their hit. Oh, Me and My Stone. Tell me about... Great song. Love the melody, counter melody. Just... one singing back, that's a gorgeous song.
Thank you. It kind of just fell into place. I started to, I thought, gee, that needs a little bit of a pickup, maybe. And it just kind of all fell together, etc. So 3 parts. I thought, that could be done. I took it to the boys and said, can you guys do this? And we never did play it live, but I was very proud to have written something in the round. Burton Cummings said to me, "Hey man, which one of you guys wrote that song?" I said, "Me." Burton says, "I got to tell you, man, that's one of my favorite songs by the Stampeders." I said, "Well, thank you."
Yeah, I feel the same way. The strange thing of getting used to this equipment is not having a key where you can turn on your microphone, turn off your microphone, turn on the next thing. Because of your donations, we bought a switch box, and if you want to make donations to the channel, there's a Patreon, usually a Patreon, I think, on all our videos. a button where you can make a donation, or not a PayPal, and then you can join our Patreon and get early access. Do you have any?
Yes, Chris Snodgrass. I love Sweet City Woman, one of my favorites.
Thanks, Chris.
James Miklos, one of my favorite Canadian bands out of Calgary before Nickelback. One of my favorite songs, Oh My Lady, R.I.P.
Oh My Lady was one of those things where they'd stop the concert and Kim would sing it, and because there's no drums on it. And again, I talked to Kimberly. His name is Kimball, and it's an interesting interview. He talks about the other members of the band. And do you have any more?
No, that's good for now.
Okay, we're going to talk about Ramona, which was a rocker for the Stampeders. And this is Ronnie King's version of his side of the story for the rocker Ramona. Did I put it in here? It is right here. With in '74 with Ramona, that was another case of just bouncing out and going, we need another rocker. I know that's his, but
yeah, it was a bass line I did not was not particularly fond of. Richard said, and it just go bam, 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 bam. That I was raised. Okay, I'd like to be a little more, constructive or whatever else. All of us played by ears. None of us read music, so we just went for it, And so, yeah, Ramona was. I always say that song's about a prostitute. Maybe I might go and see Ramona.
I never thought of it that way. Shannon's going to read the release that the family and the press released when Ronnie King passed away.
It is with sadness and love that we must announce the passing of our longtime friend and bandmate, Cornelius Van Sprang, known to most as Ronnie King. The message read, Ronnie died yesterday. He died, of course, on March 4th, as we know, at the Peter Lougheed Hospital in Calgary. The sudden, drastic turn in his health took us all by surprise. As little as 3 weeks ago, he was looking forward to doing our final tour with the Stampeders and was in a positive and optimistic state of mind. Sadly, it was not to be.
And what is the vibe that anyone gets when we're watching? And we'll put the whole interview up on our Canadian channel in the next few days. I can't say this enough. The major vibe of the channel of these videos rather is just happiness, of joy. I mean, you can't help but smile when you're listening to Ronnie King talk about his music. We're up to 1975 now, and I remember I was 15 years old at the time, and I'm still seeing him at this hockey rink, St. Clair Rink in northeast New Brunswick, which was in Newcastle, which is now named Miramichi. They always went there. Back in the days when big Canadian bands, remember, they had 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 hits every year, would come to your local town. This was a small town. In '75, they had the hit, and he talked about it already, Hit the Road Jack, which was the cover of the Ray Charles song, but of course, many people have recorded that song. And Wolfman Jack was on there. Then they had their hit New Orleans, as they put it in the song. In '76, they had their last 2 hits. And we have clips from Ronnie talking about these last 2 before we let you go. Playing in the Band was another one, and here's Ronnie King talking about it. Playing in the Band, one of my favorite Stampeders songs. I just love that song.
Thanks, man.
Tell me about that one. I mean, I love the horns. I'm all one of those guys. Before you answer, one of those guys that when the doobies changed, I remember for whatever reason I didn't notice it. When Michael McDonald came in, I'm going, they're still a great band. They're a great band, so I still love them. But I like it when someone adds something to it or something rejigs a little bit. Some fans hate that, as you know. But tell me about that one.
Well, it was when we were going through changes within the band, and Rich was not that fond of expanding the band as we were and doing and so on. And so our manager said, I know these horn players. There's club band in Saskatoon. My brother suggests them. It's really good. And if we use the horns or whatever else, they'll open the show for us for really cheap. And so on. So we had these two trumpet players, and I said, well, I wanted a little bit more like the Memphis horns, saxophone, trombone, etc., and so on else. Well, no, you're going to use these guys. Okay. So there we were with and I was even got a review in the Billboard or something like that. It said, yeah, the Herb Alpert of rock and roll. So, well, geez, I was hoping to use the Memphis horns.
Well, even the tempo of the song I love too. I remember kind of just gallops in. There's just something about it because it went against the type of music that I liked, and I couldn't help but stare at the speakers when I first heard it, going, "This is so cool."
You know how I wrote that song? Walking. And I was trying to write the lyrics by just going, and then thought, no, that's not the lyric line. That should be a horn line. Rambler. So walking. Yeah.
Now that's a good story. That's amazing. I mean, that's I'd forgotten he told me that. And again, does Ronnie King, did he not always have a smile on his face? It's crazy. Let's get to some comments.
Yeah, Max Brand heard about Ronnie's passing. Very sad. Met him once at the Chicken Deli 27 years ago in Toronto.
Wow.
And he also said he did the song at the Chicken Deli sitting in with the carpet frogs. Fraser J covers his story, a bit off topic, but are you guys going to see Toto? We actually saw Toto last night.
Yeah.
They opened up for Journey. Someone had pulled the full concert on YouTube in 1,000 years. We did not hear that last night.
Oh no, that would have been another is that the Baton Rouge concert? I'm not sure which the concert we saw the other day, but they played 1,000 Years on there because we're in Calgary. Just to go off topic for a second, I will say Journey was crazy loud. And they were great. I love Journey.
They were amazing.
But my ears hurt, and I've never felt. I mean, it wasn't excruciating, but I've never had ear pain like that in my life before. But Arnell,
except for your Apple Watch kept pinging.
I know. Have you ever gone to a concert and your Apple Watch tells you if you have 30 minutes of this, you could have hearing damage? And I felt a little weird stuff. But Shannon Forrest of the band treated us with 6 tickets and backstage passes, and it was really nice.
It was amazing.
But back to our topic, Fraser just wanted to make sure that we talked about that, and it was a fun night. But it's in keeping with Ronnie King because Ronnie passed away at Peter Lougheed Hospital here in Calgary, which is a half an hour away from where we're at. 2 more clips from Ronnie. Sweet Love Bandit was their last big hit in 1976. And we're going to have, and after this, by the way, we're going to ask Ronnie, I asked Ronnie, what was the best and worst parts of being in the band, the Stampeders? Remember, for our American friends, they had 2 hits, Sweet City Woman and Hit the Road Jack, a cover of the Ray Charles hit. And here's Ronnie talking about, wrong one. We're talking about, it's usually human error when these things happen. Sweet Love Bandit. Sweet Love Bandit is another one that I really, because I like I was just telling Dean McTaggart the other day about the Arrows, and I was doing a thing on them, and I said, you know what, they had Earl Seymour, from Toronto, we've also lost. Mm-hmm. But I remember thinking I hated the horns when I was growing up, but then I found Chicago, and then I found Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then you find Lighthouse. But tell me about Sweet Love Bandit.
Just a fast boogie song that anything that was close would have been maybe Bette Midler with the Chattanooga Choo Choo and so on. It's because you wonder where you get your influences, and just
came out.
Go fast.
Yeah. Ronnie King, who we lost just a few days ago, 76.
76.
Pardon my ignorance, but sometimes we get on here the seat of our pants. I should say I do. Shannon's usually prepared, and we talk about things that are happening in rock and roll. And we've got some more comments.
Yeah, David May. Hey, David. I saw the Stampeders at a rare Quebec show. Super nice guys. Met with fans after the show. He also wrote my favorite Stampeders song, Then Came the White Man.
Oh, and I surprised. I think we've got, and he's posted that. He posted that maybe a year ago, and every few months he would post it about natives who have just gotten the short end of the stick. And we're going to. I want to play one more clip. I think we've got one more where I wasn't sure when the Stampeders and Rich Dotson. There was three: Kimberly, Ronnie King, and Rich Dotson. When Rich left to go solo and to become a producer, he had his own studio in Toronto. I remember I was syndicating an all Canadian content show in the '80s, and I was going to Toronto to try to sell the show to Coca-Cola, that is, and to try to get a sponsorship deal. And the only city we didn't have was Toronto. We had all the major cities across the country. We had a lot of the mid-market cities, and it meant a lot to me because I was a young broadcaster, and I was syndicating a radio show with the music I loved, Canadian music, at an age of, I think I was 25 or something like that. Didn't get Coca-Cola and didn't get Rich Dotson. Rich was just too busy. I called him on the phone. I had his home number, and he just said, "Sorry, bud. I'm just got too many sessions going on." So I've never gotten him. So Ronnie King, and then Kimberly, their drummer. And this is the clip where it's self-explanatory. I'll let him. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, give me 3 seconds. You have any more comments while I'm looking?
Ooh, David said, looking forward to your Richie and Jim Henman interview.
It's coming up in the next week. We've got, speaking of Canadian content, we've got the three original members. Miles Goodwin is no longer with us, but the three original members of April Wine, the Henman brothers, Richie and David, and Jim Henman, their cousin, from that first album. That's the only time the three Henman family members were in the band together. So we're going to put that out. We're hoping next week, at the very latest, the week after. Here is our last clip with Ronnie King. What's been the best part of being in the Stampeders, and what's been the most challenging part of being in that band?
The best part of the Stampeders has been the fact that we set out to be the Beatles and got a small taste of it. And we had our limousine rocked at Ontario Place by 14,000 people and so on else, all by ourselves, in fact. We played there several times, once with the Poppy family, once with etc. But I was never that fond of the Stampeders name. I always thought it held us back, you know. And if you ask, why did we not make it, you know, why were we so underrated in the States and so on, you know? I feel that Stampeders might have held us back. I feel that, but I mean, we used to have little kids, little black kids coming up and saying, "Hey man, are you in that band, the Stampeders?" And yeah, we are, all this and that. But so, I mean, the fact that we pretty much got worldwide fame out of it to an extent, that was the highlight. I mean, and still is, to still get remembered after all these years, you know, and have people your age, my age, coming up to us and saying, you know, I was a little young when I first saw you guys, and I remember when you played here, there, everywhere, and was very self-satisfying. I mean, I often tear up, you know. I'm a softie, and people come up to me with such things, and I say, thank you for remembering us to that extent. Oh yeah, one of my favorites was.
It's almost hard. You know, I've heard, you know, most of the artists that I talk to have at least 5, 10, 15, 20 years on me. And, you know, so because of, you know, I'm 62, and a lot of artists say, and you've touched on it a little bit there, where they'll go, it's almost hard to comprehend that I made a difference in their life. I mean, I know my songs are good and I know they were on the radio, but when you're talking to people face to face and they're saying, you made a difference, man, you know?
Yeah,
That's
exactly. You had an impact, and especially songs like White Man and Carrying On and like that, where people say, wow, man, that really hit home with me. So thank you.
What a way to close it off. Seriously. I wasn't sure how long we were going to be on, and we will post. Oops, I keep forgetting our we're now using an SLR camera up here, which is a better quality camera. So we've got to remember we have to look at the camera and not the computer down here, because our MacBook's a great computer, but the camera on it is not as good. The cam thing is not as good. Yeah, it's a cam thing. Let's call it that. I felt this interview was a little further back than I thought it was, but we never used it. This interview has never seen the light of day, which sometimes happens with us, that we get bombarded by so many interviews. The channel Rocky Street Music has become very popular, so because of that, we get a lot of interviews, and we're doing a lot of Canadian interviews now, and you ain't seen nothing yet. But I felt, as you could hopefully tell during the interviews, that I felt it was a cherished moment for me to finally talk to Rich. I'd set up an interview with a cohort of mine in Vancouver, where I talked to him for about 10 minutes before my friend, radio buddy, talked to Ronnie King. So technically that was my second interview, but I asked him a few questions. He was really, really nice. But I remember he told me a dirty joke when I just before I handed the phone to my buddy, and like I'm going, I just met this guy. So it said an awful lot. Just a few more comments, and then we're going to say goodbye. And we will put on the Canadian channel, if you haven't subscribed, Rocky Street Canada, we're going to put the entire interview, which is probably double the size of what you just heard, on the internet. So
VO2 Maximus, she feeds me love and tenderness and macaroons. What a beautiful, happy lyric. Max Brown said, listen to Playing in the Band. This song has a two-step polka beat with horns. And then David said the Stampeders were on the Sonny and Cher show.
Yeah, were they?
And then Buddy just says, hey, hi, John Shan.
Hi. Buddy got, yeah. I was on his channel. Buddy, before we go, is it under, what's the name of your channel? Is it under your own name? Give you a little plug there. I think it is, but I'm not sure. Buddy, just get back to us and we'll give you a little plug for your channel. Canadian institution, Ronnie King was, when you have 19 hits in this country, 2 U.S. hits, Sweet City Woman, number 8, and Hit the Road Jack, the Ray Charles song, as I keep quoting. That was a number 40 hit, but still technically a hit, and it featured Wolfman Jack, which was really, really cool. So I'm glad a lot of our American friends know who Ronnie King was. He was 76 years old, 1947 to 2024, and he was looking forward to another tour. Did Buddy get back to us?
Yes, send in my name. Our video will be up on Monday. Thanks.
Yeah, no hurry, but check it out, Buddy. Gott. Great channel. He interviews a lot of different people. I was telling Buddy this before I let you go, that I think the star of his channel is basically his personality, which is larger than life. I interviewed him. He used to send me a few sound clips when we were doing Toto things, like celebrating Toto 14 or saying bye to a member or stuff. Buddy was always there for us. So Buddy Gott, check it out. It's the last comment on here. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. It's been a heck of a week for us, but we want to thank everyone for coming on. Remember, subscribe to our channels. All the channels are right there underneath. It's the first time we've ever done this, where all three of our logos, and we're big on logos. We like professionally done logos. You handled
that really well. You were smooth today.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I get on here and I do some yawning, but not for Ronnie King. Ronnie was a Canadian legend, and a lot. Ian Thomas, I should have brought it on. Ian Thomas wrote this. For Canadian fans, wrote this amazing thing about spending time with Ronnie King, and it's all on here. We may do another video, probably a produced video, where we'll have musicians in Canada reacting to Ronnie's death. He passed away at on March 4th. He was 76 years old. Remember, check out the description if you want to help out the channel. There are a lot of things there where you can get a hold of us and support us. And we just want to say take good care of yourself and have a good weekend. From John and Shannon.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself, guys.